So, let me ask you this. Is there any show or movie or book or any piece of art that you enjoyed the first time that you experienced it, but always forget just how good it is until you inevitably go back to it after a few years? Sort of like a song from your childhood that you haven't heard in forever until you turn on the radio or put on a new playlist and hear it again for the first time since the good old days. And then all of those warm memories from your past come flooding back into your mind and spirit. For me, the anime that best fits this description is definitely Parasyte the Maxim. I've watched the Parasyte anime from start to finish at least 3 times in my life, and despite thoroughly enjoying it every time, it's not an anime that I would put in my top 10, and it's never one of the first anime that I would recommend to someone if they ask for any recommendations. I always seem to watch it, love it, and then quickly forget about it every time. In a way, I kind of like how easily forgettable many aspects of the show are because it allows me to feel like I'm experiencing the show for the first time every time that I rewatch it. At first, I was just drawn into the spectacle of the show. You know, a parasitic alien invasion that turns humans into superpowered, unfeeling, cannibalistic killing machines that are bent on destroying mankind, and then the one lucky hero who was able to join forces with one of the parasites, and then they try to take them all down and survive what seems to be an unwinnable war against these monsters. That's what originally piqued my interest, but what ended up hooking me on the show was the combination of legitimately shocking character deaths and the show's love of long, preachy monologues about the human condition and the role that we all play on this planet.
But I'm not sure it's my place to decide that an organism has no right to live, even if it's harmful, or even if it just doesn't benefit humanity.
Now, anyone who's watched this channel before probably knows just how much I fuck with long, preachy monologues about the human condition and our roles on this planet. As much as I really do like the show and those philosophical diatribes, there are certain parts of Parasyte that make me feel like instead of watching a cool sci-fi action anime, I'm really just sitting in on a very bland Introduction to Philosophy 101 lecture, including this scene that is quite literally about sitting in on a bland Introduction to Philosophy 101 lecture. Parasyte is basically the Diet Coke version of Neon Genesis Evangelion. It's got a lot of the same messages and themes, but they're all delivered in a more digestible and less aggressive manner than they are in Evangelion. But hey, there are a lot of people who prefer the taste of Diet Coke to that of regular Coke.
Diet Coke turns 40 models this fucking week, and I'm over here like a shem waiting in the McDonald's drive-thru to get one. Meanwhile, I have an entire fucking bottle right here. But there's not like a fucking Mickey D's DC.
I don't really prefer Diet Coke, but I do like Parasyte more than Evangelion. Shinichi might be a whiny little brown-haired crybaby just like Shinji from Neon Genesis, but Parasyte makes sure to balance out its main character's bitch-assness with a lot of moments that show his courage, resilience, and confidence as well. Shinichi is a tragic figure who gets put through immense suffering throughout the show. I mean, the amount of death that this kid has to deal with basically from episode 1 all the way to the very end, including his own death by the way, is just absurd.
Tough break, nigga.
It's due to all of this trauma and suffering that Shinichi becomes more and more isolated as the show goes on. Even as his body physically changes and evolves to a superhuman state, and he's no longer the weak pushover that he was in the beginning, the physical enhancements that he receives does nothing to improve his deteriorating mental state. Parasyte spends a lot of its time not focusing on crazy fight scenes, shocking plot twists, or stunning animation, even though there is a healthy amount of those things in the show, but rather, they spent its time focusing on Shinichi, pondering the meaning of life, mankind's place on the earth, and a whole bunch of other existential bullshit that nerds like me enjoy. And Shinichi ponders these things either to himself or to Migi, the parasite that's stuck in his hand. My favorite moral dilemma and existential crisis that Shinichi goes through in the series is actually the last one. This is when he's confronted with the ultimatum of killing an extremely strong and dangerous parasite named Goto, or allowing Goto to live and potentially try to kill Shinichi and countless other humans. Much like Eren in Attack on Titan, after Shinichi loses his mother to a parasite near the beginning of the story, he becomes almost obsessed with wiping them all out. He says he wants to protect the human race, but deep down, he's really just out for vengeance and is unable to face the guilt and shame that he feels for not being able to protect his mother.
You will pay for what you did to my mother! You're dead!
He spends basically 2/3 of the show in this mental state, angry and violent towards the parasites for what I will concede is a pretty justifiable reason. But after multiple fights and encounters with Goto, who was a genetically enhanced super parasite who wants to kill Shinichi and the entire human race basically, Shinichi slowly starts to view the parasites differently. It's during one of these fights with Goto that Shinichi believes that Migi has been killed, but in all actuality, he actually has just been absorbed into Goto's being, and they begin to share the same host as a sort of hive mind. But once Shinichi and Migi reunite and seemingly defeat Goto, Migi informs Shinichi that Goto is trying to revive himself, so they rush back to the scene of the fight. It's there that Shinichi finds a bunch of small pieces of Goto trying to reform and come back to life. This is when Migi tells Shinichi that Goto has a 50-50 shot of successfully reviving himself. But Shinichi can end it all now if he just destroys what still remains of Goto. So Migi and Shinichi do the smart and easy thing and chop Goto up and go on happily about their lives.
Just kidding. Not really.
Migi is actually the first one to get cold feet, which is shocking because throughout the whole series, no other character has been on go and ready for all the smoke more than Migi.
What did I say? We should totally take this guy out. Agreed.
Stop it!
But all the time spent connected to Goto and them sharing the same host has made Migi go soft, for lack of a better term. The experience of being connected to Goto and being a sort of hive mind makes Migi no longer want to kill his own kind. This connection is very similar to the connection that the average human tends to feel towards their fellow man. We may not personally know or even like one another, but very rarely do we want to kill each other. This leaves the decision up to Shinichi, who, 3 or 4 episodes ago, probably wouldn't have even waited for Migi to finish his sentence before chopping Goto the fuck up. But now, he has a new perspective. Shinichi wonders if he even has the right to kill Goto if it's just to protect the human race, especially when the human race has done such terrible things to the planet. The only reason Shinichi was able to defeat Goto in the first place was because he stabbed him with poisonous garbage that was left to fester in the woods by humans. This is where the show brings up a very good question. Is it really right to kill something or someone just because it could be a threat to you or has wronged you in the past? Do all humans have a moral obligation to protect one another from another species? Is wanting to protect the human race an inherently selfish and immoral decision considering all of the destruction and suffering that mankind has caused all of the other animals and organisms of the world? Okay, so maybe Parasyte brings up a lot of good questions. Shinichi grapples with this for a while, but ultimately decides that he'll leave it up to fate. If Goto survives and comes after Shinichi and other humans, so be it. If Goto can't recover and reform himself and dies in the woods,
It's God's will.
and that's where it ends. Except f you, that's not where it ends, because a second later we see a visibly hesitant and remorseful Shinichi standing over Goto's dying body and giving his condolences before striking the final blow.
I'm nothing more than a lowly human being. And all I can really do is protect those close to me.
I'm nothing more than a lowly human being, and all I can do is protect the ones close to me. That sentence and all the context around it is the epitome of the human condition. We are selfish, we are cruel, we are willfully ignorant and apathetic to the suffering of others. We make decisions not solely for the good of others, but ultimately for the good of ourselves. Whether that's pushing for world peace just so that our country doesn't get swept up in some war, or saving the environment just because Earth is the only planet that we can live on, or giving that homeless man some money so he doesn't attack us in the street. Even the best deeds that we do always have some element of selfishness tied to them. But you know what? That's perfectly fine. Obviously, there are those who would take these flaws in human design too far and commit horrible crimes and atrocities out of selfish desires. And I'm not saying that those people or the things that they would do are okay. But for the average person who's only concerned with bettering themselves and the lives of the people that they care about, while simultaneously not caring much for anyone outside of their bubble, I don't see anything wrong or anything to be ashamed of for having that mindset. No one can save the world, at least not alone, and anyone who tries is either a fool or a masochist. We're all connected on this planet simply because it's the host that we all share. Basically, we're all parasites just doing what we can to survive. That seems to be the show's main message, and even now, after experiencing the show again 10 years after the first time I watched it, I still can't tell if that's a positive or a negative message. But it is a poignant message, and no matter how much I might forget about the other elements of the show, that message and the impact that it had on me is something that I could never forget. Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for watching the video. If you got this far, I really appreciate it. This one was kind of just like a spur of the moment, random one. I wrote the script pretty fast. I just, finished watching Parasyte again, rewatched it with my girlfriend, and I don't know, just inspired me to want to make something quick while I work on the Atlanta video, which is definitely going to come out hopefully around Halloween, is what I'm planning on. I got a couple other surprise videos, and I'm also almost at 10,000 subscribers, which is pretty crazy to say. One, just because I never thought when I started this that 10,000 people would enjoy it so much that they would subscribe and want to see more of it. So I got to thank every single person who's already subscribed, everyone who will subscribe going forward. But 10,000 subscribers is also the goal that I originally set for myself when I made this, where I felt like if I could get 10,000 subscribers, I would have felt like I really did something with this whole YouTube thing. So like I said, I still can't thank you guys enough. The people who have already subscribed, the people who continue to show love and support. I can't believe I see people commenting that I saw commenting, a year or two ago, that they liked my stuff and wanted to see more, and they're still showing the same kind of love and support. So thank you to everybody who watches these videos. Thank you to everybody who allows me to keep doing this and motivates me to keep doing this. So I want to do a lot in these next few weeks, and a lot to end this year. And yeah, can't wait to share with everybody. So just wanted to stop by to give that quick message, and I really hope that everything's going well in your life, and I hope that you're making the most out of every day that you get to wake up and do something with yourself and with your life. So that's it for me. Talk to you in the next one. Peace.